Hello, gamers, family, and friends. I have a new series of videos that I'm going to give a shot at. That was terrible. I'll probably edit that out. Um, I have decided to try a new series of videos here. Kind of a one-shot. I was just sitting around watching YouTube and saw the Dice Tower does their annual top 100 board games of all time. And probably 2 years ago, I watched all of them as they came out. And then I don't have that much time on my hands, so I just watched a few minutes of a few episodes to get a feel for what they like. And despite the fact that I just said I don't have a lot of time on my hands, I decided to make my own version. Now, I can't do a top 100 games of all time because I don't actually own 100 games close. So I'm just going to do a top 75 games that I own. That's what I'm going to do. So without further ado, I'll start. However, first I'm going to talk about the two games that I own that I have not played yet. It's not that I don't want to, it's just that these two will take a bit of time to get into and get started. So I have not got around to them as of yet, but there are plans. All right, so the first of those two is a Kickstarter. All right, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's very addictive. That's a cat. I used to be worse about it, and I am now a lot more choosy. But this is one that I got fairly recently, and I just haven't got around to yet, but I'm really excited about it. It's called Dialect. It's the subtitle is A Game About Language and How It Dies. So apparently, as you play this, there's this language deck, and you and your friends, one being a sort of dungeon master type thing, create a language. You make up words, and apparently by the end of your playtime, you actually can speak this language. I don't know. And then you kind of evolve it and eventually destroy it, I think. So I'm really intrigued by that idea, being an English teacher. And I'm really excited to get more into it. I had planned to sit down and read through the manual. Games like this, RPG, the manual isn't a few pages. It's pretty much an actual book. So eventually I'll get around to that and give that a shot. In the same vein, all right, and a lot nerdier, depending on your point of view, is simply that sounded good, the Dungeons and Dragons starter set. I don't think I have to go into a lot of detail about that. Most of you probably know what it is or have some idea. I have given it slightly foray into it, but not on my own terms. Someone tried to rope me into it, and I wasn't feeling it at the time, but I have either matured or immatured, if that's a word. And so eventually I want to give it my own shot. Maybe be the dungeon master. We'll see. All right. So those are the two that I have not played yet. And now we'll get to the actual top 75. Just to keep your attention, I'm just going to do 10 games at a time and come out with a few videos. Now, before I start, a little bit of a disclaimer. A good deal of my games have been gifted to me, whether it be birthday or Christmas. Now, if that is the case, and I'm talking about a game that you bought me or we've played together, I just want to say that just because they're lower on the list doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the game or I hate it or I secretly hate you. This was kind of hard to put in the order for most of them, but I think that's all I'm going to say. Number 75 was given to me by my mother, and she's played it with me, and she will not be surprised that this is last on the list because she hated it too. It was an Amazon deal of the day, and that's pretty much all you can say about it. It is Scrimmish. All right. In Scrimmish, you get a deck of cards, about 25 cards each, and you put it into 5 piles, and it's essentially war. You take a card, and whoever has the lower card, their card is out, except you don't have war like in war. If you tie, you both lose. And the point of the game is to find and destroy the other person's crown card. So it's kind of war meets chess, but none of the good parts of either of those games. And pretty much, if you play by the rules, if you go first, you win, and that's it. Because the piles you choose, you get to choose the order, so you know what you're gonna do. It's not worth it. This is the only game that I don't like, really. If someone says, hey, you want to try this game? I'm going to say no. But all the other games, pretty much, if someone wants to play it, I will play. They have their ups and downs for the most part, but this is the only game I have where I'll say, no, let's play something else. And it doesn't even matter because a round takes about 3 minutes, so it's not even worth it. That's Scrimmish. Sorry. Number 74, alright, is a game that probably everyone watching has played, and that's Jenga. Alright, show you the front of the box. Jenga. So everyone knows how to play Jenga. You build a tower and try not to knock it over. The reason the reason Jenga is number 74 on the list is because inevitably I'm the one that knocks over the tower. I'm so bad at this game, and frankly it just doesn't really do anything except give me a mini heart attack, which is why I have it, actually. And this is kind of going back to the first part of the video. I didn't buy Jenga to play Jenga. There is an RPG, which I am forgetting the name of it right now, which I want to try to Dungeon Master. There's probably a better word, Game Master, sure, where everyone playing, they are in whatever you want, like a haunted house or like the hotel from Shining, something like that. And every time they risk their lives, they have to take a piece out of the Jenga tower. And that's the only way I would ever play Jenga. So, yeah. But Jenga is like $6, so I think it's worth it, even if I haven't played that game. Next, number 73, alright, and I'm just going to show the board because I don't want to get everything out, is Dice Masters. A lot of people like this game, and I can understand why, but as you might see on some later entries on the list, I'm usually not a fan of games where it's kind of like pay to play, and it's essentially in the veins, Dice Masters, of like Magic or Pokemon. You buy a pack and you get certain dice, and they're all, at least what I have, they're all Marvel themed. They can be DC themed, I think. And essentially it's kind of just Magic with dice. You set forth the dice you want to fight with, and then they can defend or attack, and it really is kind of just, in my opinion, a ripoff of Magic. If you disagree, that's fine, but there really wasn't anything about it where I was like, ooh, I need to play Dice Masters right now. Whereas in Magic, at least there's cool artwork and the different mana you can use, but there's different colored dice in Dice Masters, but I don't know. It didn't do it for me. Speaking of not really doing it for me, we have number 72. All right, Cards Against Humanity. All right, an unfortunate amount of people watching right now have probably played this one. Probably. It's I feel like Cards Against Humanity is just like the board game equivalent of like a meme. Like everyone has to try it. It's so funny. But I, after a while, it just gets old. Honestly, once you see all the cards, the shock value is gone. Um, and honestly, it's just a ripoff of Apples to Apples, which I think stands up to the test of time way more than Cards Against Humanities. Cards Against Humanity. Cards Against Humanities, that might be like English class theme game. Maybe I'm got wheels turning. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's fun to play with people on New Year's Eve or something. But I could really, if you ask me to take it or leave it, I'll probably leave it. Next 71. All right. And again, I apologize, Mom, if you're watching this. This was a gift from Mom. Now, this is why I have the disclaimer. I do like this game. I do. I love Stranger Things, and I have waffles all the time, so it's kind of made for me. The only problem that I have with it is that it's just Uno with circle-shaped cards. And I mean, I feel like they could have gotten a little more creative with a Stranger Things license, but it could have been a bad game, and it's not. It's just that I feel like they didn't try very hard. But I like and I hope the cards don't go flying out. It's toaster shaped, which is nice. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with this game. It's just that it's just Uno. And doesn't really do anything. There is something where you go in the upside down, but really it's just Uno. Nothing wrong with that. Number 70, and I think I forgot to grab it off the shelf, but kind of going along the same lines, and you'll see this in the next entry too. Is Star Wars XWing. Star Wars XWing is another one. It's kind of like a little bit like pay to play. The more you pay for your ships, the better you're going to do. And I'm really not a fan of that style of game. Really, the only reason I like Star Wars X-Wing, well, not the only reason, but if I was to get heavier into Star Wars X-Wing, it's just because the ships are freaking awesome. Like, they're like this big, but they're so detailed that to me, it ends up being more of just like a collection rather than a game. Especially like if you have to bring them to somewhere to play, like game store, I would be very afraid to bring my like $80 ship to the store. I would break it. So it probably, if I got more into it, then I would probably be too afraid to play it out of my own home. And another thing I don't really like it is that, and some people, this is the reason they like it, it doesn't have a board, so the board is just as big as your table. And when you have a small table, it kind of limits the enjoyment of the game. I know what people are saying, play it on a bigger table. Well, that's easier said than done. But it's not a bad game, but I just, when you have to pay that much in order to keep playing and be good at it, that's not that. And once I get to much higher on the list, you're going to be like, but you said, and I know, and it'll come back to haunt me, I'm sure. But again, on the same line, Star Wars Destiny, this is number 69. This is higher than the other two. It is kind of a mix between Star Wars X-Wing and Dice Masters. You have these nice big chunky dice with lots of colors and all these little bits and cards. And you do have to, you don't have to, is what I'm saying. You don't have to collect the cards and dice. You do need 2 sets of this to play, but the thing is with this, if you just have this set, you can play. And that's nice. That's a lot better than Dice Masters. You can play with the starter sets, but it's sometimes doesn't seem worth it when you just have a few dice. But this gives you everything you need to play. And you can keep adding onto it with packs and things. And I think this one is a lot more fun, and I can't really put my finger on why. And it might be just because it's got nice artwork on the cards and a lot of variety with what the cards do, and you can switch between characters, and I like that aspect of it. But again, if you really want to be good at it, you do have to buy more dice, and that is a little bit of a drawback. And also, if you don't know anything about me as a player, I am terrible at rolling dice. Like, if I need a 3 in a game, if I need to roll 3 in order to win, I'm going to roll a 2. And if I have 2 dice, I'll probably roll a 1, and it doesn't matter. That's just how bad I am at rolling dice. And so sometimes games that rely on chance get a little lower of a grade from me, but I do like Star Wars Destiny and the opportunities it gives. 68, alright, and this is the first, I think, of games on this list that have different versions, different editions, and expansions and things like that. So to keep these videos a little bit shorter, I'm kind of grouping them together. So number 68 is just Trivial Pursuit. In general, this happens to be Harry Potter. I also have Saturday Night Live, Trivial Pursuit. Really, you can't go wrong with trivia games with me. I just kind of have the brain for it, which annoys a lot of people, I know. But it's something I enjoy. But sometimes in Trivial Pursuit, it does kind of seem like it is impossible to win when you have to get the different color pie pieces, where you're stuck on like science for 80 turns. Or something like that, and that can really be a drawback because if you're playing the game for a while and no one is getting any closer to winning, that can kind of be terrible. And I think in the Harry Potter one, I don't think it even comes with pie pieces. I don't remember how it works, but there's one I've played that all the pie pieces are silver, and that still doesn't really fix the problem. I just think that sometimes in games like in Trivial Pursuit games, they have questions that are like, what color is the sky? And then they have one that's like, if you have 900 gallons of tea and the Chinese are asking for it, how many yen are you going to give them? And it's like, I don't even know how to begin to ask that question. So sometimes the degree of difficulty is too skewed, and that's why Trivial Pursuit is kind of lower, and there are other trivia games on this list that are higher. So moving on to 67, we have Uno. Alright, specifically this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Uno. So Uno in general, pretty much one of the first board games or card games that I ever played. We'd have it in our camper when I was growing up, and that's what we'd do for fun. So I have a lot of good memories about Uno. I'm sure you all know how to play. Reverse, skip, alright, it's just fun. I like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. Not generally a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one fan, but I like this one. It has some special cards, like the Heroes card that if you play it, then you can basically defeat all the villain cards in your hand, which could be a bunch of your hand, and I thought that was a cool twist on that. But yeah, Uno, I like that a lot. And the last, oh, I'm at 20 minutes already. Hope you're enjoying this. The last game for this video, we have CD Baba. Alright. This was a gift, so again, just because it's on the first video doesn't mean I hate it. This is it's similar to an RPG almost, where basically the cave master, if you will, knows where treasure and things are in the cave, and everyone else is blindly exploring it, trying to get all the treasure and get out before something bad happens. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. So it's got this little technique in here where you have an image of what the cave in front of you looks like, and the cave master gives you choices on where you can go. And an added twist is the cave master can decide whether or not to get you stuck or not. It's an interesting format that you really don't see in a lot of games, but at times it's kind of like Trivial Pursuit, where sometimes it's too hard, especially if the cave master is purposely making you screw up, and if the cave master is being nice, it's a little too easy. So that's why it's at 66. I don't have a whole lot to say about that one, but like I said, if someone wants to play it, I will. I have no qualms playing it. It's just sometimes the level of difficulty is kind of skewed, just like I said with Trivial Pursuit. So that was 75 through 66. If you enjoyed this, let me know. If you totally agree with me or you disagree with any of my opinions, let me know. And if you have any suggestions, just leave me a comment or tell me in person if you know me. Alright, well, I'll see you next time. Bye.